Week 4, breakdowns. Yeah, not too long on the slides, but we'll go over it and we'll look at some examples. All right, breakdowns. So, in a artsy way of saying it, breakdowns are the soul of your animation. And without them, you just have moving storyboards. Uh, so Yeah, well, I guess I'll just elaborate on that. Yeah, so like, breakdowns are like what give your animation life and personality. And like, obviously, your golden poses do those things and you can have personality and stuff. But um, you can really accentuate it with your breakdowns. And so that's when you can get creative and like be an animator and, not just be like also, I mean, the moving storyboard aspect of it is important for golden poses, but it's not all you want to do. You want to add that flair. Um, so get creative, and try and make something interesting, but also always make sure to fit the style you're animating in. So for example, like if you're animating like a subtle, emotional something in like the style of Pixar moment, that's going to have simpler breakdowns to compared to something like Hotel Transylvania. And we'll take a look at examples from both to kind of show examples. You still, just because something simple doesn't mean it doesn't have breakdowns, it's just not going to be as extreme. And as always, always make sure you're supporting your story and idea and not animating for the sake of animating. Um, so I mentioned before, like adding some flair and stuff, but you don't want to do that if it's going to distract from the story and what's important. So make sure your breakdowns are helping, push the story forward. And if it needs to be funny, then if the story is calling for comedy, then uh, your breakdowns can push comedy. Or if it's calling for, something more subdued, then you know make your breakdowns less big. And so here's some things in general to think about when you're doing your breakdowns. So think about what is leading the action. This is usually one of the best things to look at. It's the thing that gets rid of the computeriness the most. Um, the thing that makes something feel computery is like because if I have like if I have a pose here and a pose like here, it makes no sense. But just for the sake, like a computer will do like everything at the same time, moving at the same speed. Um, but if you pick like my hands are gonna go first and then my head, that's just gonna make it feel, that or like this. This is like such a weird example, but a computer is gonna be like all the same speed, all hitting at the same time. So think about what's leading the action. Think about how can I create arcs? So, again, for the same weird example, um, you know, now if we have the lead and follow, that's cool. But what if it's like, kind of going under like this, like not going so linear? Um, think about how can I make this movement more interesting? So what if I'm just gonna keep running with this example? What if something interesting would be like a little flare outward. So if it was like that or something. So thinking about not just going A to B, but like how do you can you do like something with the fingers or like a head shake, something to make it more interesting. Um, and this is along the same lines, but like which body parts can I use to create a movement that's not just a linear interpolation between my two poses. So thinking about like what can I use? Like maybe get the shoulders involved if we're like going to do some archy things or bring the shoulders up, or maybe it's something with the head, but just going through the whole body and looking at how you can make things more interesting. And as always, most importantly, again, how does my breakdown contribute to the story I'm trying to tell and the emotions of my character? So kind of same point as last time. And I think that's it. Yeah. Any questions? Pretty simple there. Uh, let's look at some examples. I'm gonna reshare. with video clip. All right, so let's take a look at this one, which is from the owner of Animal Warriors, Jorge. He has a really awesome animation style, and his breakdowns are like super pushed and cool. So, yeah, let's just take a look at this reel, and then we'll talk about it. I'm not getting sound. Give me 1 second. Oh. Um, Hey, you know what, Cynthia? I don't think I've had sound this whole time. So before your mic might have actually been working. Oh wait. Did I lose it now? No, I have it. Okay, my sound's working now. Let me try sharing my screen again. I can't, do you guys hear this? I can't see you guys.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, cool. All right. Sorry for the technical issues. Yeah, let's take a look.
You see, Denisovich, monsters are nice just like you. But when the moon comes out, the real monster fun begins. Being scary. Right, guys?
You know, I have devoted my life to inventing the future. But every dream has a beginning. I still remember my first invention. The humble food bar.
Ow! My back.
You gotta cut those nails, man.
We just strap our kids down with duct tape.
Poor baby's gonna cry.
Hello, pretty lady. Heck, it's pretty too. Dad, it's not a fang. Dad, I don't know if it's the right place for Dennis. Right, Johnny? Oh, hey, dude, man, it's not me. It's Mavie. Hey, dude, man, I'm afraid to say anything. Hey, dude, man, I'm a dude, man.
Drac?
Okay.
Corner store.
Oh, I like how this is going.
Let your packages rain down on me!
All right. Sorry, I'm just stuffing food down my face because I didn't have time to eat. Cool. So obviously, really amazing work. So, there's a couple of shots in here I want to focus on. I think this is a really fun one because with this character test, like, I don't know if you guys have seen Cloudy with the Chance Meatballs too, but this character is like, his movement is like so unique and like weird. And from what I know, I think these animation tests, they literally just told, they were still kind of developing the character, and they were literally just trying to figure out, like, telling animators like just do like anything, like try and come up with something, cool and weird. So this is very like it's convenient that the story or the the story aspect of it just needs to be like come up with weird movement and like interesting. So I think there's some really like fun breakdowns to look in through here. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of like lock on a few key poses. But like, so if we look at like here and then here. So if you look at these two poses, it's like pretty standard, you know? And if you imagined how you would get between these poses, you know, most of us would probably just have them kind of just slide over and, you know, that would be that. But here, if we look at, I guess this would kind of be our like main breakdown. We're keeping the head like completely locked and like just completely stretching the pelvis. So it's a really interesting way. And then if you go beyond that, the kind of like sub breakdowns would be like this. So then if you look at like, well, how do we get between like these poses? Like we're gonna stick the arm out and you know, yeah, kind of add like a flare movement. And then if we look between these poses, let's stick the leg out.
Life to inventing the future, but every dream.
And then yeah, this is like another good example if you look at these. So again, if you look at these two poses, it's like, okay, pretty straightforward. You can imagine a lot of boring ways to get between here, but you know, Jorge decides to like this is kind of our breakdown. I mean, it's obviously a whole movement. But again, it's like a combination of things. We're leading with the head, and the leading is very like because it's so cartoony, you can like isolate the body parts. Normally, you don't always want to do this, but it works really well in this style. So we're leading, we're doing arcs like if you track the nose, we're going down and then up. So there's like a nice arcing path here. And yeah, there's just this like crazy like movement happening here. There's a lot of visual interest. So that's a lot of things in right. And then again, looking at like the sub breakdowns, it's like, okay, well, you got this post. Now how do you get from here to here? And it's not just like standing up, he's gonna add something. So yeah, I guess his breakdown's kind of like this. So again, like locking the head almost in place. And then like the arm is just like spaghetti kind of going up. That's pretty cool. And then we're keeping the pelvis pretty much in place. So yeah, can spend all day looking at this one. Where's the other one? I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in here. I'll just try and pick a random one. That would be good. Yeah, I mean, this is like pretty smeary. I like if these are two poses. Then you flip between the golden poses, like the movement isn't that interesting. Like the poses, you know, work. But if you kind of imagine how it's going between these two poses, it's not really that interesting. But when you add this breakdown, all of a sudden, there's a lot of life to it. And here, this breakdown, we're leading with the back. And then we're breaking out of this linear, like the linear path would be to just have the hands go, you know, directly here. But no, we're pushing outwards, we're creating arcs, we're making things more interesting, and we're not just going like the linear interpolation between the two things. All right, let's take a look at I'll just go. I won't play this whole thing, but so like actually this one, let's go further. Let's do this shot.
Smaller than I remember.
Oh, you don't like it? You know where I live? A bucket. And there it is. Took the liberty of moving my stuff in, hope you don't mind. Wait, I know what our place needs. Little feminine touch. Yeah!
Cool. So really awesome. I'll pick a few moments in here, but I think especially
A bucket. And there it is. Took the liberty of moving my stuff in, hope you don't mind.
so going between this pose. Let's just say here. So if we look at these two poses, she's looking here, she has to look over at Ferdinand, and she sits down. So again, like not very interesting. And then you add the breakdowns, and this is kind of our breakdown, I guess. So we're leading with the butt. We're also like turning the head. I guess we're kind of actually leading with the head. So let me go on this like next breakdown. So this is kind of our golden pose. We're leading with the head. We're breaking out of this linear path that would have been to just go down. We're going up. Now the legs stick out. And then we're kind of like overshooting again. Anyways, there's just a lot of like kind of overshooting, over arcing, like leading, just a lot of, again, visual interest happening that's not just this linear interpolation. Okay, let's take a look at two more examples. One, let's look at something more like subtle. Actually, this is not the one I wanted. Give me 1 second. It's the same animator, but wrong reel. This one. And let's just take a look at one shot. It's not two. Oh, yeah, in here, this first one.
You want to end up like that man? Forgotten? Left off your family's ofrenda?
I don't care if I'm on some stupid ofrenda. No!
Mama! You look.
Cool, so this is like way more grounded, but you can pick any shot in here. There's gonna be like interesting breakdowns, even something like this. So we have a golden pose here. And I would say the next one's like kind of here. So look at this, so it's so boring, right? It's just coming forward, but then what are we gonna decide to do here? How are we gonna make this interesting? There's gonna be like a bit of an anticipation, which, yeah, we'll do like anticipation. And then we're gonna come down. Actually, I got the wrong frame. Let's go all the way. Yeah. So again, like very simple, but we do an anticipation, we arc it, we lead with the head, and then the body kind of catches up after. And just with those couple decisions,
I don't care if I'm on some.
more interesting movement, other and not a robotic like just forward. It's a you know, move that works. And I'll just pick one more move here. Like let's look at this guitar smash. Oh, she doesn't even smash it here. So just here. Look at that. Again, I'll just keep hammering it home. Like this could be so boring if we just went up. And when if you only have 2 keys in Maya, it's gonna look like that. It's gonna be like a robot. So I mean here this is like getting into the face a bit, but there's like an anticipation in the face in this case. And the head's actually coming forward. And then well, actually, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that deep. And just look at the breakdown. It should be like this, I guess. So they're already just that breakdown of going down. It's way more forceful. And then you can get into like how this is a great example. So getting from here to here, instead of going all up at once, we lead with the head. Head first and then arm second. So the movement's broken up very nicely. Head first, arm second. And this first move here. Kind of same thing, like head first, arm second, arms doing like a bit of a shake. But yeah, really awesome. And now if I flip through these, there's like way more movement compared to flipping through the golden poses. Feels like animation and not storyboards. And then last example, let's look at some body mechanics. From Kanto. All right, so really awesome. Let's pick a good shot here. This is maybe a little too complex to look at. Maybe this, no, actually no. Let's pick something a little more full body. Maybe here. Yeah, this is a cool one. Okay, so here. The obvious choice would be to kind of go just head first under, but we actually go like this instead. And then another breakdown would actually be like this. So we send the head backwards off the linear path that would have been just forward before. We're sending the head backwards. We're leading with the back, the butt. And then again, we lead with the butt and then the head goes after. Obviously, I'm kind of this is like a complicated movement and I'm just kind of oversimplifying it. But this breakdown is super like unexpected. You know, it's not the way you just expect that movement to go, which is cool. She's kind of covered in here. This is cool. So let's go from like here to here. So this just looks like a normal kind of run and touch, but then these two. So we're kind of like leading with the head, the arms like dragging back. And then on this one, the legs like we're kicking out the leg, and then this arm's going. These movements are pretty complicated, so it's not as obvious of like the Coco one where it was very obvious, like head goes first and then arm. But it just goes to show that, like these are just the principles you're using, and even like in more complex, like that's what you're doing. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Let me open up the Maya file right now.
Oh,
Um, let me share again. Cool. So with all that in mind, let's make some cool breakdowns. Just water and take a quick bite. All right. Sorry. Well, let's take a look what we had. Okay, we can trim this down. Okay. So yeah, let's just go. I have my sets go. Yeah, so I'm pretty much just gonna go like in between all my golden poses and then just start slowly kind of chopping it down, and you go half by half, like depends on the shot and like the workflow that's kind of needed, but as an overall workflow, like I have my golden poses, I would go here, I'd do a breakdown, and I do that for like the whole animation. So I do a breakdown here, 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 like I'm just dividing everything in half. And then once I have that, I go like, okay, breakdown here, boom, boom, boom. Like you just keep dividing in half until you're eventually on twos. So yeah, let's do that. So I'll go about halfway. Another nice thing is to put everything on like an odd number so that the math just works out easier. So I'm just going to push these keys around. So we'll do that. 99, 108, I'll push that to 109. Oh, something's not part of the group. Let me keep that line then. Let's see. I'm just going to make sure these are all added here. I'm going to undo something I messed up. Let's try this again. Okay, so I'm gonna take all my constraints and stuff and just make sure that's in the group. Okay, so now that's good. 109, go 119. Push that a frame later. Go 135. Yeah, so now it's all an odd number, so it's just 1, 2. It's just kind of easier to divide in half. And then yeah, so it doesn't have to be exact numbers though, so I'll just go roughly in half. We can always move it later. Oh no, wait, I broke a constraint though. Let's see. Oh, so these locators can't be in the group. Remove selection. Let's delete. Because if you put keys on things that are constrained, it breaks. Okay, all fixed. So yeah. We have our two poses. Not much is happening here, but I'm gonna start to think like what's an interesting way to get between these two poses. So if I just do the default like halfway tween machine, we get that, which is, you know, 9 times out of 10 is going to be terrible if you just do that. So we don't want to do that. Sometimes I'll use it as a base to start, and then I'll just start thinking about it. But yeah, I think, and then I'm going to think about, I'm going to just maybe act it out a bit, like think about what kind of emotion for the story. So, because it's different, you know, I could like, we could do a thing where he like pops with the chest first and comes up if he's like kind of startled, or are we gonna want a thing where it's like really slow and he's kind of just coming out of it? In that case, like maybe lead with the head and like it'd be like head and then like the rest of it would kind of come after, which is maybe what I'm leaning more towards. Let's take a look at the reference also. Yeah, so the reference we kind of go like slow and then fast. So I'm gonna emphasize like the slowness in this breakdown. So I'm like, oh yeah, so actually if I'm slow, I think it'd actually be like kind of leading with the chest and the head would like kind of be really like draggy because it's like a feeling of like a sleep where your head's just like rocking around and you're not like fully in control of it. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm going to, this is usually my kind of baseline for a breakdown is I'll grab some controls. So in this case, I'm gonna grab the shoulders and chest and the arms. Start with that. And then I'm going to take those and push those like kind of like 80–90% of the way there. Cool. And then I'm going to take the head and then I'll just push that like back. Cool. So that's kind of my starting point for my breakdown. So already we have something that, you know, if I play it, well, it's too slow right now. But, you know, and actually, I'm gonna actually just use the reference for a second. So I'm looking at the reference. I'm actually not really moving until like frame 36. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna look for an odd frame. So like here maybe. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right, but that's just kind of my starting point. So I'll take kind of like half the body, push it towards one way favoring, and then the other half and pull it back towards the beginning. But yeah, now I'm not really done. I'm gonna keep kind of pushing whatever idea I was going for. So I got my lead and follow. I'm gonna go for some arcs now. So I'm kind of tracking like this point. I like to track for the chest, kind of like the sternum area. And we can definitely go for some arcs. So we can do something like that. So now we're coming up and over. Maybe the elbows like, sometimes it's just experimenting too. Maybe the elbows like bring in. Well, kind of match the hand to that. Okay. And then the head, let's like really push that kind of drag idea I was talking about. So kind of keeping it a little bit in the same space where it was in the previous pose, but not as like exaggerated as the cloudy shot. If I was doing the cloudy shot, I would like full on like use this like copy world space tool and I'd like paste it so that the head would like just fully not even move. But like that's super cartoony, so we're not gonna do that. We just want a little bit of drag. Oh, yeah, I might even pushed it like too far. And then now I can decide like, what if we arc the head down? Probably not. Maybe we arc it like up. That could work. And then like play around with some rotations. Yeah, so now I'm kind of like got this like sideways head thing going on, which is interesting. So now instead of just a linear like forward, is it like kind of archy, more interesting head thing? Cool. And little hips as well are just kind of linear. So I'll do like a little like overshoot. Actually, maybe not. I'll just do the same spacing as the chest, just like most of the way there. Oh, wrong control. This. All right. Yeah, so that'll be good for now. One more thing I could try maybe is like the shoulders. Like, what if we brought them up? No, that doesn't really work. All right, that's fine. All right, and then let's go, just set a key there, make sure that's good. And let's go next. All right, so we got a head turn. This is more like frantic than the first one. It's like when you're looking somewhere, you usually want to lead with the head. You know, our heads are usually kind of leading the action, especially our eyes is the main part. So I'm almost surely gonna lead with the head here, unless you were doing an exaggerated like kind of like look like that. But most of the time, if you're like dialed in, it's gonna be kind of leading with the eyes and head. So let's do that. Again, I'll just start like a baseline 50-50 just to see what we're working with. And then I'll even take a look at like the reference. You can even see in the reference, it's like my head goes first and then my arms kind of settle afterwards. So yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna take, so in this case, I'll just grab everything and I'll pull it back because I really want to lead with just the head. And then I'll grab the head and go the full way. Cool. But it's kind of boring. So it might be cool to do like a little downward and then out movement. So let's try that. So I'm gonna grab this and like push it forward. And then let's grab the shoulders. Let's pull them up. And I'll grab the chest and I'll kind of cave it in. Okay. And then also when you're turning the head, it's nice to either lead with the forehead or the chin instead of just directly turning with RY. So I'll do like a slight thing here. But now I think the chest is drawing too much attention. So I'm just gonna go back to like 50% or back to here. Same thing with the body. I think it's taking away, like the head is the focus. So I'm gonna find another way to like kind of arc it. So maybe I don't know, maybe this just needs to be simple in the end. It's gonna take away from the story. I could try pushing the, oh, maybe that's gonna work. Pushing the shoulders down. Oh, there, I got a bit of an arc, so now I'm coming like this way and then back. Cool. Maybe we can bring the foot in. No. I want to distract from the head. So now that I'm watching it, the chest is maybe it's still too distracting. I really want this to be like about the head. So it might even be like a pose issue. Um, so maybe actually, oops. Oops. Maybe I actually just need to fix my golden pose. Keep the chest not moving a lot. Oh, whoops. Okay. Getting a little confused. Here we go. So just back to my golden poses, just going to tweak this a little bit. It's kind of what I was showing at the end of last week's class, where if you move everything that looks bad, you want to kind of start from the main source of the movement and have everything kind of dialed down as you move through the body. So I think there's a little too much movement happening throughout the rest of the body here. So I'm just going to tone everything down a little bit. So let's keep this foot pretty much stable. This knee stable. Is this? Oh, okay, that wasn't helping. So the spine, let's keep it kind of the same. Cool. And then just gonna keep the shoulders a little more still. Okay. All right, so I think this is better. Now the lower body's like not really moving, and then the head is like the chest is moving a little bit, but it's really just the head. So, okay, like that. Fix. Let's do our breakdown again. And now that I think about it, like I think this just needs to be like again serving the story. I think it just needs to be like a very simple and quick head turn, nothing too fancy. So I'm just gonna go for that. So I'm gonna take the whole body, pull it like mostly back here, favoring the previous pose. And then now let's grab the head and go here. Well, and we can do a slight little bit of arc. Not too much. Cool. And then maybe the chest doesn't have to be as favored. Cool. So we're just leading with the head. Pretty straightforward. There's also a world where we can like overshoot with the head, but no, let's just keep it simple. Cool. All right, so let's set our keys. That's good. All right, next pose. All right, this one's getting a little more complicated. So let's take a look at the reference. The first thing I'll check about the timing is like, I think my breakdowns, let's see. How many poses? I think my breakdown's kind of like here on frame 79, so I'll move that over. Yeah, so if we look at my reference, the important thing mechanics wise is that I'm leaning. The first thing I do is I start to pull my weight forward. So my head and chest are leaning forward, so that's pulling my weight off of my arms so that I can actually lift them up. So that's important. By the time this breakdown comes, my legs are also in the air. And this hand is coming to plant down. So yeah, let's just do a 50%. Okay. Since we're transferring, just do a full, yeah, that'll work. Same thing with this side, just go all the way. And that happened because we were in the like pinned elbow space. And then on this frame, we're in the like this elbow space. So when you have like a transition happening, it's weird. So you need to kind of change over one frame. So I just switched it by the breakdown. We're already in the this elbow space, the controlled elbow. Let's just do this. Okay, so yeah, this breakdown looks terrible, obviously, because we just did the 50%. So let's start favoring. So okay, what should I start with? So let's do this hand first. Or actually, I don't even need to manually place it. Let's just select the hand and the fingers. Okay, and then let's send that. Actually, just send it all the way. So it's fully touching, maybe not like most of the way. Cool. All right, so let's get that lean forward. So my head is going to be leaning, get some tilt. Okay, this pelvis, I'm just going to pull it back a bit. Same with this. All right, now I'm looking at the legs. By the breakdown, they're kind of already like in their next position. So we can do that. But actually, maybe I'll do like an arc around like this. Same thing here, I'll kick the leg out further. Okay, and then this arm should still be, actually I did that wrong. Yeah, this arm should still be on the bench. And it can slide a bit as it is in the reference. But it's still it's sliding along the bench. Just very light. Got a little bit of rotation in there. Cool. So now this arm's staying kind of locked on the bench. The legs are moving. Okay, it also looks like we're kind of coming up with the chest. So I'll try and get that in here as well. All right. I'm trying to look for ways to create a bit more arc with the head, so I don't want to come down. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking at all the body parts. Checking kind of. Excuse me. Maybe like, kick this leg out actually a little further. Get a little more of a scramble. And then if I look closely at the reference, we're actually very slightly lifting off, like up and off the bench, like we're replacing it. So I could actually bring this up a little bit. Oh, oops, wrong post. Could bring this up a little bit. So we're like moving forward. Cool. And since this shoulder is this arm's placing on here, I want that shoulder to like bear the weight. So bring it up a little bit. And I'll use these to get like a straight. When something is like forceful, you want to kind of use like straighter lines to show it. So I wouldn't want to do like a curvy arm. I want to have it strong and straight lines. Yeah, let me just say this. Cool. Nice. It's going a little faster than the golden poses. Okay, let's look at this.
Is it like a an obligation to always go straight line when you want to show like force?
It's not like an obligation, but it's just usually better.
Mhm.
Like if yeah, like kind of like I showed, like if I just like really tried to, I'll like exaggerate it, but like is there like another control? I don't know. Like if you just look at this arm, it just doesn't look very strong, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it yeah, compared to this, and especially like, I mean, I wouldn't do this. I would just make the pose that works, but this really looks like it's, you know, holding up. Like we can get like a straighter, like a longer, straighter line. If I just do that. Now that really feels like he's bearing the weight on that shoulder. So yeah, I would, yeah, in general, like the straighter lines, yeah, are more forceful. And then that obviously means like something softer, you'd want more curves. Okay. Oh, I already keyed the next breakdown. So we're here. Oh, yeah. I'll deal with that after. Okay. The shoulder's just weird. Wait, that should only be straight keyed here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let's look at this now. So there's like a twist in the body, there's a lot happening. Let's try and oops, I'm just gonna deselect these. Yeah. So what I like that's happening here is like my knees are kind of coming in and my head's coming in. So there's a bit of this like there's like a stretch in the body here, and there's a stretch in the body here. So if we can create kind of like a squash frame here, it could be interesting. And then as for the mechanics, this hand is repositioning, so it's kind of in the air. My legs are still in the air, and now this arm has come off the bench. And I'm kind of pivoting. This is my point of contact, so I'm kind of pivoting around here. So yeah, this one, well, let's just do a 50%. That looks weird. Oh, right, I think I switched to FK here. Oh. Okay, I think I need to do like a a separate. Just undo this. I already did undo it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make a second hotkey because this is like messing with the constraints. So all no constraint. Okay, let's try this now. Oh wait, that was supposed to be there. Okay, anyways. All right, so yeah, I switched to FK here, so I'm gonna do my FK switch now. Which was in this controller. So I'm just gonna push this all the way, so we're already in FK. And then I'm gonna take this arm. Just do this for now. Okay. And then this arm is good. So this arm, it's actually about halfway, but it's like lifting up. So I'm just gonna pull in this more interesting rotation. This. Okay. I'm kind of getting it to like pivot around this finger. So I'm tracking like this point, making sure it's like kind of in the same spot. That's good enough. All right, and now let's get the squash kind of going on. Okay, before I do that, my torso is like kind of going pretty far. All right, that's coming off the bench. So let's make sure this is still on the bench. And I'm gonna try and look around here to hide the controls. I want to make it feel like we're on kind of this point of contact with the leg. Okay, something like that. Move this hand over. And this elbow. Yeah. Get that out. Since this arm is lifted up, I want that to connect to the rest of the body. So I'm gonna lift the shoulder up. But I still want a bit of a bend. Do that. Okay. Even more like rotation. Okay. Now this arm. This is gonna be kind of the squash pose before he like reaches out to hit the hat off. So I'm gonna have the arm like a bit back here. And then let's maybe we'll bring the shoulder up and like wide like. Yeah, I really just want this pose to feel short and wide, like a squash. Those. I'm gonna keep his vision kind of like eyes on the prize. So looking that way, but maybe do like a rotation here. Let's keep the head close and low. Cool. I'm gonna push this squash even more. Maybe here I'll like bring this foot up. Cool. Cool. So like looking at these now. Maybe I push this rotation too much. We're supposed to be rotating on like the index finger kind of. Okay, but like looking at these two poses, you know, we're doing something a little more unexpected coming inwards. Save. Excellent. What do we got here? So this foot's like obviously leading. You can see there's like a big movement here. This foot's staying kind of in the same spot. Our head is also leading. But our body position isn't changing a lot. We'll do the all no constraint. Yeah. Actually, I guess I should do. All right. I'm gonna actually, is this the hat? Oh, I turned off selection. Okay. So I'm gonna actually adjust the hat a little bit. I'm gonna want a bit of like a bouncing ball timing. So I'm gonna want more hang time in the air. Okay, like this. So following this kind of arc path, but I don't want it to ease into the ground. So I want like a big spacing jump from here to here. So I'll just do this. Maybe this is just already on the ground. Yeah, we'll figure that out later. The hat I'm just gonna kind of do on its own. I'll just have like bouncing ball timing. Okay. So I'm gonna take the body and I'm actually gonna pull it back a bit because our body position wasn't changing that much. So our hand is still, our hand is in the exact same spot, so I'll grab that. And let's just pull that all the way back. And, oh, we're doing like an IKFK switch, so I'm gonna pull this all the way back as well. Okay. Now let's look at the feet. So this, I'm gonna pull the foot back. Cool, so the foot's just sliding, so I'm gonna use this control. I think. Yeah, just give it a bit of a slide. Yeah. Yeah, so like a slide. This foot's coming like way forward. And then the hips need to support that. So let me do this. Cool. Right, and then maybe I'll actually come up. Kind of going up. Just trying to find some arcs. The head should be following the hat. I guess, are we already looking at the hat? Yeah. Actually, yeah. Guess I'll just try and find like a nice head rotation. It's not bad if the head leads. Well, and then this arm is actually down. We're in like a bent position. So you go from like a straight here to a bend. And this shoulder can also chill out. Okay, trying to just find some lean because we're pushing off the bench, so gonna be off balance. I might want to lean with the head. I'm kind of going the wrong way here. Okay. So the head's kind of now like moving screen left. The thing I was trying to fix was like before the body was back here. So the head in screen space was kind of traveling screen right, and then we were going left. So I want to feel that like that lean. Like, yeah, no, just experimenting if like going down was better, but no, I don't think so. And then, yeah, I think just getting like that lean. I was worried about this leg, but getting like too straight, but I don't know. Just do this, I guess. Get a little bend. It's fine if it stretches a bit. All right, I think I'm happy with that. So we got like this point of contact. We're pushing off, we're staying on here, and we're like leading. Maybe I can like, no, this is good. That's good. All right, so next one. This is the one's a little bit simpler. Just trying to pick a frame to do this one. Cool, so if we look in the reference, kind of leading with the head, which makes sense because I'm looking at the hat, so it makes sense my body's kind of leading where I'm looking. But on the other hand, it also plays into the change of direction. So I'm setting myself off balance in that direction to kind of move there. So yeah, pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna put the hat already on the ground. Just looking at the hat timing. I think we might already want to be pretty much on the ground here. Figure that out later, but just a rough like bouncing ball timing instead. Next. So yeah, I want to lead with the head here. So my body's gonna pull this back. And then I'm gonna lead this. And we'll do an arc, we'll arc up. And then, I don't know why I'm grabbing from here. Let's get here. For the feet, this left foot is staying planted, so let me make sure that's the case. Might be a little bit of rotation, but it's pretty much in the same spot. And then this foot's actually coming up. So something like that. Arcing up and so this is the part where we're gonna have like a arm scramble. So I'll try and work something in right now. Try and pick something a little unexpected for the arms. So maybe like it's gonna put more lean in there. Maybe even like if we're gonna lead with the head, I'll like stick the neck out a bit just to really lean with it or lead with it. Okay, so something interesting for the arms. Maybe it could be a bit of like a kind of reminds me of the shot we were looking at from Jorge where Jack's hands were here and they went here and he did a little like kind of thing forward and back. So maybe we could do something like that where he's like kind of reaching for the hat. So then my breakdown here, instead of just having the arm go from here to here in the same position, we'll actually do something a little unexpected. Go like this. This shouldn't need to. That's fine. I'll just zero. Okay, so let's get like a straight arm. And then, yeah, I'll get this shoulder forward. A nice straight arm. And then we'll do like a big spread out hand. I mean, if I had actual fingers, I would do like a big, like I'd go from like this to like a big grab, but he's got 3 fingers, so we'll just deal with that. And then that would mean this, we're doing like a, if I'm kind of doing that, my hand that's not reaching forward is doing this like kind of weird bendy thing. So let's do that in the other room. Trying to find an angle. It kind of isn't too like foreshortened on itself. I think that kind of works. Yeah. It's actually, yeah, the way I'm acting it out, it's actually elbow out a little more. Maybe that'll be the fix. Yeah, I think that's what I was feeling off. And now that I'm kind of going through these, this feels like it should be a little straighter. Cool. Cool, so I think that'll work. We've got a bit of like a scramble kind of thing going. It makes more sense than what I was trying to do earlier, which was just like it was like kind of a random scramble. But maybe this will make more sense. He's like trying to reaching for his hat. Okay. All right, so there's not really like this one's more kind of grounded in mechanics, like not as much personality here. I'm just looking at the ref. So looking at like this foot is pretty locked. This one, oh yeah, it's coming out. It's just foreshortened, so it looks weird. This leg's coming off the ground. We're leading with the head and upper body, and there's this kind of like rotation that I'm kind of like turning into it with the shoulder. And then this, I'm grabbing the hat and then that arm's coming up. Cool. And we're kind of sticking more towards the first pose, so I'm just gonna do that. All right, so let's do those things. So this foot is stable. I'll lock that in. There's a little bit of like pushing off, very minimal. Let's get this kind of rotation in. I'm gonna maybe try and go down for an arc down. I'm gonna try and do this. Now I might have to do a little more with this foot because my foot is pointing this way and my knee is kind of bending towards us. So I might have to kind of split the difference there so it's not too broken. That looks like it should work. Okay, this is coming off the ground. There. Let's get this knee this way. Cool. So this leg's rising up, so I think I'm gonna do the hips like that. I'm gonna, let's see, which hat do I want? Okay, so I'm gonna take my constraints and I'm gonna switch it. That didn't work. Oh. Do this over one frame. Let's try this. Yeah, so I switched to the I just moved this over, but I'm switching on this frame to the grabbed hat. The frame before is still this hat on the ground and then it disappears. Switch to the grabbed hat. So these one frame switches, when you add more breakdowns, you just have to move where they're happening. That's fine. Okay. Look at the head. I really want to be leading with that. So that's going to be like pretty much turned the full way. Although there's this kind of like lean I have that I actually probably want to capture. So I'm going to do that. And then I might want to like, or maybe lead with the chin. Or maybe forehead makes sense here. I kind of try out usually like the forehead and the chin, leading with both, seeing which one makes more sense. But in here, because it's like a shoulder move, I think it makes more sense to kind of use the like lead with the forehead and kind of feel that move. Cool. So let's bring this up. This is kind of coming in here. Cool, and then again, this is kind of acting like a bit of like a squash pose before we go into this like more stretched one. This arm in the reference is kind of going back into space. Frame 3. So I'm trying to do that. Cool. And I can get a bit more of like the lead. The body. Shoulders feeling a bit weird. And then maybe I need to like foreshorten this arm on purpose. Just get that out of the way. Cool, and then this arm's a little distracting. Maybe I'll just also try and push that out of the way. And if I'm leading with the head, like maybe I'll push the neck a little bit. No, I'll lead with the chin. No. With head angles, a lot of the time it's really just moving it around until you find something that kind of works. Maybe I don't want to do this. Yeah, maybe this works better. Not doing this like shoulder lean. I think that actually looks a little better. Right. And now here's something like where I'm just thinking about the mechanics. It doesn't really make sense to go down here. Like I was trying to create this arc, but if I'm thinking about it, like knowing the reference, I'm like pushing off this leg. It just might not make sense. I think I'd have to see that more when it's broken down, but like looking at the reference here, I'm kind of going upwards at this point. I'm like pushing off the leg. But then I go down kind of here afterwards. So I probably will want a down pose, but maybe this is just the wrong spot for it. So for now, I'm actually just going to keep it going up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's working a bit better. Just bring this up. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just like trying to push that lean. Yeah. Cool, I like that. Save. Cool. And then more breakdowns. Let's go here. Now we're getting into like the run mechanics. So instead of picking on here, I'm just going to pick like the next important pose. So this is a kind of like an up pose in the run. I guess I'll just pull up the I can talk about runs, I guess, for a second. Just do this up. This one's better. I just wish. All right, let's see this. What's the difference of these two? These look the same to me. All right, so we'll just look at the top one. All right, so we got the contact pose. It's similar to a walk. It's the same for like names for poses and concepts. They're just, a little different. So the pose we have here or the pose we have here is the up. It's the pose where your pelvis is upwards. You have a straight back leg. You're off balance and this leg is kind of kicked forward. In our case, this is dragging, but the thigh is kicked forward. And the other pose we did is this one, which would be the contact, kind of. Yeah, because our heel's hitting the ground, we're leaned forward, and this arm is back extended, so your arm is extended here on this pose. And yeah, this leg's back. So the next, if we're kind of going between an up and a contact, but I think it's further in the cycle. Yeah, it's like it's this leg, this back leg that's contacting. So we're basically going from like this up position that would be like off screen all the way to like this contact. So I guess we could just pick the passing position. That would be a good one. So yeah, it'd be the passing position. This is flipped, so it's a little confusing. But the point of the passing position is your hips are kind of over your foot. In a walk, it'd be like, directly over, but the run, everything's kind of a little more leaned forward. So our pelvis is just a little over our foot. Kind of like midway in terms of height. Like it's not as low as the down position and not as tall as the up position. And it's when the leg passes, it's called a passing because it's when the leg passes through from your back side to the front side. Our arms are kind of at our side. There's some other more complex stuff with the hips that happen in this position that aren't shown in the drawing, so we can talk about that too. And if you want to find that pose in here, it'd basically be on this frame, which is halfway, so that works out. So yeah, let's just do that. We'll go like halfway. And then getting weird, but so this foot is going to be on the ground. So trying to get like looking at the path, the foot coming towards me, it should kind of be along the same path. So something like that. I want to get rid of that toe. Okay. So this foot's flat on the ground. This foot is we'll push it a little more forward, but it's passing through. All right. So the thing about the hips of the passing position, which is this is actually already pretty much in the right position. But I'll zero it out just for demonstration. So it's just gonna be curved in a little bit like this just to support the pose. But this leg is supporting the weight, so that's gonna be up. And then the other poses we were like using the rotate Y for like whichever foot was in front to get that. I mean, these are my arms, but you know how my chest like rotates as I stretch my arms? It's kind of the same concept in the pelvis, but because the legs are like both knees are here, you know, the legs are in the same position. We don't need that rotate, so that stays normal. It's just this one's up. We'll bring the weight over the leg. And oh, there's the other one. Let's bring that up a little bit. Okay. And then for the arms, they're kind of, like I said, kind of at our side. We'll do like a similar thing in the chest. So the chest is going to go the opposite way of the legs. So if the legs are doing this direction, the chest is going to kind of go the other way. And my shoulder will be a little lower. Because for the run, we're gonna, when the arms come forward, the shoulder's gonna come up with it. So as we're passing, we're getting like kind of this thing where the shoulder is like arcing. So in this passing position, I'm gonna keep the shoulder low. Yeah. I'll even squash the chest a little bit down so we get that like reach and then reach. So we're like always playing with that squash and stretch. And same thing on the side, the arm's just gonna be a little down like this. Yeah. And then let's keep that head stable, kind of like this. Want the head pretty locked in for the run. Before the head was kind of like moving to the side. We don't want that. We want the head like pretty in line in the front. And there we go. Got another pose for the run. All right. So got through one round of breakdowns. Let's take a look. Find the reference. Cool. So starting to get clear like what's happening. Some of the timing needs some work here. To record OBS. I'll do that just for the end here. All right, so let's take a look at that again. Cool, so I think we just need some small like timing adjustments. Because this lookup golden pose is important and it's only held for like 4 frames. So I'm just gonna bring that a little earlier. Like 4 frames earlier. Because realistically we're getting there. Like around here, it will be easing. I'll just bring that earlier. And then yeah, let's just watch that again. Sit up. Oh, and you know what? We need the bus. Should probably add that in. So we're getting that clear. So it can still have to get a proper bus model. But I guess it can already be behind him and the sound will wake him up. So I'll set a key here. And then do like a little kind of anticipation thing. I don't know. I'll drive off. Then we'll need some linear curves here. That is way too fast. Cool, and then auto, so it speeds up. Cool. So I think it's reading pretty clearly. Just gonna go through one more like time and just see like what we can push for the breakdowns. Like I'm wondering for this drag if we can like get that like really like just get that feeling more. If I'm acting it out, it's like I think it's really maybe arcing the chest more, getting through here. Maybe I need to actually push the shoulders down. Yeah. I'm kind of like sticking my neck out a bit. So maybe that's not right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that gets the idea. We can like flesh that out more next week. And then there's this, now that the bus is in here, maybe this look should be like a little further. A little further. I think I pushed this straight arm a little too far. And then, here, if we're putting our weight on it, we should be, that's when we want the straight arm. Or pushing off of it here. I think that'll feel better. Okay, nice. Yeah, I think I like that more. Instead of leading with the, well, just looking for maybe like, feels like the head's kind of shooting too far forward here, so I arc it like this. And kind of do something like that, maybe. Cool. I like this squash frame, like the squash and stretch. I think that's working well. Cool. Maybe push like this head angle too. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe like, yeah, that rotation feels more interesting. Cool. And the only other thing is just because we've done everything like kind of halfway, is that the timing's just a tad even. So as we kind of break it down more, we can make more adjustments and vary up the timing a little more, so it's not as even and boring. Yeah, this lean, maybe you can just push a little more. Doing everything we can to kind of push our poses. Push the lead and follow. Yeah, that's just small little changes. Okay. Cool. Breakdown's done. And it's just gonna keep getting faster and faster from here, because there's like kind of less work to do. Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up here? It's not sharing.
No.
Cool. Yeah, breakdowns, it's an entire, like you can always learn more. I even like, the breakdowns we did here, compared to like some of the examples we shown, like you can get, really crazy, really creative. You can spend a lot of time on your breakdowns. So, but hopefully it kind of gave you an idea of like my approach, and I think that checklist that I had in the slide is like pretty good idea to follow. Gives you like a rough, if you're kind of stuck, it's just kind of like good things to think about. It's usually this also the things that make it feel computery is when you don't have those things. If you don't have any lead and follow, and you don't have rotations and arcs and stuff. So but yeah, we're gonna keep breaking it down next week. I think we're on a good pace still, so we'll see. By the time we get to the last class, we'll see like maybe next week we'll talk about we'll see how far we get, and then we'll talk about what we want to do for the last class. We can either do like, I can do like review some of your guys' shots, and we can talk about mechanics, or like maybe I can this run at the end where he runs off screen, I can like have the camera follow him, and we can animate like a full like proper run cycle. Or yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll see what you guys would want. That would be most useful. But yeah,
Nice. Thank you.
cool.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
And see you guys next week.